Wow, I didn't know you guys couldn't hear me. I'm so sorry, family. I just wanted to say thank you for joining the Dr. Kia Pruitt Show. I will edit that no sound out of here. Um, we have some people that just joined the membership. The membership part of my YouTube channel is for sensitive information about global financial news and some geopolitical news that mainstream media doesn't want you to know about. For example, information about gold has gotten my channel taken down in the past a couple of times. Information about what the war against the deep state that's going on behind the scenes has gotten my channel shut down. So we've been censored on Rumble, LinkedIn, YouTube, Reddit, all of them you can think about. I've been shut down on YouTube 7 times, and we don't know why exactly, but maybe it's because everybody that were running the deep state, most of those people think everybody's not ready for this information, but you're ready. So thank you all for all of you that joined. Thank you so much for those of you who support the channel. I see we have Sister Cynthia that joined a membership. Sister Teresa, thank you so much. Somebody says Mayday, Mayday, no sound. So I'm glad to be here, family. Thank you so much for being here. I love you all. Yes, I'm glad we're on now. So keep checking in, family. Well, by now you all know that um, Sovereignty won the Kentucky Derby. So keep checking in. Happy May 4th. May 4th is known as Star Wars Day. May 4th is a play on the words of force. Remember there was a line in Star Wars where they said, "May the force be with you." I don't know if you guys remember that, but that's where we get the celebration of May the 4th being the same as Star Wars Day, or May the 4th be with you, or May the Force be with you. Now, on May the 1st, I did a podcast to tell you all that it was Mayday. Mayday is supposed to be an International Labor Day. But in our time period, we have come to understand that it's not just about International Labor Day, but May Day is a distress signal. It's known as a distress signal when pilots and captains of the ship would send out a distress signal or an SOS saying, "We need help, we're in trouble." So what I wanted you all to know during the first few days of May is that the deep state sent out a distress signal, Mayday, Mayday, on May 1st. And so what they did was they launched a mass protest, and it was supposed to be a riot, but it was more like a protest all over the world, where people were announcing their dismay and displeasure with President Trump for his policies and his tariffs against all these nations. So not only were protesters rallying against President Donald Trump, but they were also rallying against Elon Musk because he was tasked with the job of forming DOGE, or the Department of Government Efficiency, to downsize the government. These protests were to take place between May the 1st and May the 4th. And so what I said on my platform on May the 1st, on May Day, is to keep your emotions in check. This actually is a beautiful thing that President Trump is doing, putting tariffs on other countries, because now he's making sure everybody's on a level playing field. And just like these countries tax us for our imported goods, now we must tax them for their imported goods. And this will force a revaluation of currencies all over the world, because in order to play ball with us, you're going to have to come up to our standards, and you're going to have to pay tariffs. Well, it's hard to pay tariffs and taxes on devalued currencies. I do go into that just a little bit more on my Mayday video, and even more so in the back channel on my members only section. So the tariffs on these imported goods coming into America forces these nations to make changes. Another thing I talk about in my members only section is how President Trump's tariffs and his sanctions of Iran is forcing the Iraqi dinar to revalue. So please, if you're interested in knowing why Trump's tariffs on Iran is forcing Iraq to become more independent, more creative, and therefore more able and free to revalue their currency, then you have to go to the members only section, because that information is sensitive. Right now, the mainstream media is pushing this narrative that Trump is putting sanctions on Iran, and that's a horrible thing, and he's going to cause some type of war. But if we say something different from that, we can get censored. So I go in information and more detail in my back channel about how Trump's sanction and tariffs against Iran is helping Iraq, and how Iraq will reinstate their currency, and not just reinstate it back to its pre-war value, but how Iraq will have to revalue it even higher than what most people know, because you have to take into account inflation and other things. So join the membership only section. The link is in the chat. I'll put it in the chat for you again if you want to hear that information, or if you want to have a discussion on that. So that protest or rally against President Donald Trump and Elon Musk was to go last between May the 1st and May the 4th. And what I had said in my podcast on May the 4th was, it was interesting that they chose the 4th to end the protest, which is today, because as you all know, the 4th is Star Wars Day. And it became known as Star Wars Day because there was a movie, Star Wars, that came out around May in 1977. And there was a favorite line in that movie that said, "May the Force be with you." Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi said to Luke Skywalker, "May the Force be with you," in that movie franchise, and in the first movie that came out, the Star Wars movie that came out in 1977. So it's an unofficial holiday, and it grew organically as a way for fans to celebrate Star Wars and their movie verse as as May the 4th, because it sounds like May the Force. So what are the spiritual implications of May the Force be with you, or May the 4th be with you? So it means, or it's a catchphrase that Obi-Wan he explained it himself. He said it to Luke Skywalker, "May the Force be with you." And Luke said, "The Force?" And then Ben said, "Well, the Force is what gives a Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds and penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together." So Force is what gives the Jedi, and what gives you and me our power. It is an energetic field that's created by all things, and that's in all things. It surrounds us all, and it penetrates us. The Force, or source, or God, or that energetic, creative vibration from which all things come, and that's in all things, may that be with you. So this distress signal that the deep state, the United States Incorporated, the Illuminati, the cabal, the bloodline families, what they sent out on May the 1st, this distress signal, was that we need help. It's over for us. Okay. The Pope died. The Pope was over the United States Incorporated, which is a group of bloodline families, you all know this, that usurped authority from our republic and incorporated themselves in 1871 in the state of Delaware as a nonprofit religious organization with its own constitution called the Constitution of the United States Incorporated. The deep state sent out a signal, a distress signal, "Mayday, Mayday, Mayday, it's over." Then they told everybody to take to the streets and be upset with President Trump for the tariffs and executive orders that he's creating to take down the deep state, and to be upset with Elon Musk for downsizing the government. And I went through bullet by bullet point what the demands of these people who are protesting. And basically what they were saying is, we don't want the government to be downsized. We want our entitlement benefits. We don't want the government to defund Department of Education. We don't want the government to lose its power. We're mad that Trump is privatizing things and he's downsizing the government. But what I said in that podcast on May the 1st is, you have a public side and you have a private side. The public side is run and controlled and operated by the government, telling you what to do, how to teach your children, giving you money, putting it into the United States Department of Education so they can push DEI programs and affirmative action and critical race theory and transgenderism and all these things, racism and sexism and feminism. The United States Department of Education had money and they were funneling it through the schools and through the institutions of higher education. And when they do that, they can tell you what you can teach. They can tell you that you have to have standardized testing. Okay. They can tell you whatever they want to tell you. They can make you feed your children food that it has been disseminated by the Department of Defense. That's who was disseminating food into the school system, the Department of Defense, weaponizing our food. Okay. So these people who formed these protests, they didn't even realize they were being controlled by the deep state to complain about downsizing the government. So look at my podcast on May the 1st, how I said you want the government to be downsized so that you can have sovereignty. Now that brings me back to yesterday. Yesterday, May 3rd, was the Kentucky Derby. You guys know I raised my children in Kentucky. I lived there for over 20 years in the city of Louisville, Kentucky. So I'm always watching what's going on in Louisville, Kentucky, and I report on that. Yesterday, sovereignty won the horse races. Sovereignty was the pick over journalism. Journalism was what the deep state had picked, and he was the favored horse. But Trump's team was rooting on sovereignty. Why? Because these are comms. They want you to know your sovereignty has been restored. The republic has been restored. The deep state who was sending out an SOS, Mayday, Mayday, we're in trouble. Our Pope has died. The head of the snake has been cut off. We're dying. Our fake journalism can no longer pump out mainstream junk and fake news. They have been dismantled, and that is why sovereignty won the horse races. I know you guys already know that. Grand Rising family, peace and abundance to you all too. So sovereignty won the horse race because our sovereignty has been restored. Now, horse races are rigged just like other sports. They're rigged because really the elite are speaking to one another in all the sports. And the players have no control over what's happening in the sports arena. And President Trump told us this actually many times. But again, I'm from Ohio, but I raised my kids in Kentucky, in Louisville, Kentucky. And President Trump said in 2019 that Maximum Security, who was supposed to win the race, did not win the race. President Trump had bet on Maximum Security, and Maximum Security should have won the race. And in fact, he won the race. But when he didn't, the deep state rigged it. After Maximum Security had won the race in 2019, the deep state rigged the race and made the other horse win and said that Maximum Security had done something that was illegal or had tripped the other horse or something. And they kept playing the tape over and over, and it showed that Maximum Security had in fact won the race. Why was that important? Because in 2019, President Trump was talking about maximum security of the borders. When he was still the president, he was talking about securing our nation. So we knew that Maximum Security was going to win. It was easy to predict who's going to win the race based on who is controlling things and how the news is supposed to play out, or how politics is supposed to play out. So in 2019, President Trump said the right horse didn't win. And he said the horse races were rigged, and it's all political. He said that Maximum Security was supposed to win, and we knew it was because 2020 was coming up for the elections, and he had talked about the borders being secure and the elections being secure. But the deep said, not on our watch. I don't know if y'all remember that. I reported on it when it happened. You guys remember that? So I'm going to bring it on home to today. And because President Trump speaks out on these things before this horse race that just happened yesterday happened, the horse race industry warned Donald Trump to watch yourself. They warned Donald Trump and his administration, watch yourself, because we control the races, right? But they had a rude awakening. So this was in 2019. President Trump cites political correctness in Kentucky Derby's results and said that the best horse did not win. So the best horse that really had won was Maximum Security. And here, I'll read this just a little bit. The record books might say that Country House, a 65-1 long shot, won the Kentucky Derby on Saturday. This was in May 2019. But after the most controversial decision in a racist history, President Trump on Sunday tweeted, "The best horse did not win the Kentucky Derby, not even close." He said the same thing with the Super Bowl. I said it and I misspoke because I said who should win is the Chiefs, because the Chiefs, those are mine. Oh, thank you. The Chiefs on the land are back in control. And even Trump said it. The Chiefs are, they asked him before the Super Bowl, who's going to win? He said, we don't really want to say, but the Chiefs are supposed to win. The Chiefs, I would bet on the Chiefs. And the reason why I said the Chiefs is because the eagle represents the Super Bowl. Yes, I know that the original republic was in Philadelphia. I understand that. I'm sorry, the eagle represents the deep state. The eagle represents the Roman Empire. It is the symbol of the Roman Empire and the United States Incorporated, which is why the eagle has always been, or since the United States overtook America, the symbol of this so-called nation. So we all know that the original White House was in Philadelphia, but the eagles is the symbol of the deep state and the Roman Empire and the United States Incorporated. And President Trump said, just like I did, that the Chiefs are supposed to win the Super Bowl. And then after that, the last Super Bowl we just said, the best, he said they were supposed to win. He said that was the what he said, who messed up the game? Those were his words. And then he said that was the worst halftime show I ever seen. And right after halftime, he got up and left the Super Bowl. Well, why? Because it's all a joke. It's all a game. It's all rigged. They're all actors. And just like he said that after that Super Bowl, he said the same thing during his horse races. This horse race, he said the best horse did not win. President Trump on Sunday tweeted the best horse didn't win the Kentucky Derby, not even close. And that was because Maximum Security crossed the finish line first, only to see the results undone after a 20-plus minute review because the horse had veered out of his lane and interfered with other horses around the final turn. So they said, but they kept playing it over and over. They replay over and over. And Maximum Security had, in fact, won the races. And they were supposed to, because what the Trump administration was supposed to be sending out, the coded message they were sending out is that the country is secure. The borders are secure. Elections are now supposed to be secure. But the deep state, even though Maximum Security had won, made sure that they rigged it and said that Maximum Security had cheated. So now here we are in 2025 during this horse race, and the equestrian, is that what you call it? The horse race industry sent out a warning to President Trump. And I'll show you that in a minute. What he said. They told President Trump that they needed him to fix the border situation, and then they not fix the border situation, but they needed him to fix the immigration problem. And they needed him to be fair toward the immigrants because the horse industry depends upon immigrants. So I'll show you that article in a minute. I hope I have it here. Okay, I don't have it up here, so I'll just put it up here where I'll show it to you in a minute. Here we go. That was quick. Keep checking in, family, and thank you so much for sending. I hear you sending the Cash App blessings. I appreciate you so very much. So look, the horse racing industry sends a warning to Trump ahead of the Kentucky Derby. The gall, the nerve. As the Kentucky Derby approaches, the horse racing industry is urging President Trump and Congress to take swift action on immigration reform. Business leaders gathered in Louisville on Thursday and called upon the administration to prioritize a legal pathway for immigrant workers. You hear, they're warning Trump to make way for immigrant workers because the horse industry depends on immigrants. The gathering held ahead of the Kentucky Derby highlighted the key role immigrant labor plays in the equine industry, from the backstretch workers who care for horses to the skilled professionals who make the races possible. Trump has vowed to carry out the largest mass deportation operation in United States history. However, the policy has sparked concerns about its ripple effect on the economy. So while I can agree that when you remove immigrants, it can affect certain industries, I will say that what President Trump has said he's doing is not just trying to get rid of immigrants, but only those that have been here illegally or unlawfully. And any nation would want to get rid of people that have entered their country unlawfully, because all countries have rules. And if you don't abide by them, you have to deal with the consequences. So President Trump, of course, has said that he's going to deport immigrants, but only those that have been doing nefarious things, or maybe they didn't finish their paperwork, or maybe they crossed over here illegally and or unlawfully, and he's within his rights to do that as the president. But the horse race industry sent out a warning to him. And the thing about the horse race industry is that more than likely they are owned and controlled by the deep state, which is probably why there's an underground tunnel from the Brown Hotel that runs from the hotel underground all the way to Churchill Downs. Everybody knows this that lives there. And there are many underground tunnels in Kentucky, many underground tunnels, many hidden places in the mounds. What else? Many secret places. Kentucky used to be the transportation hub of the world, but now it's Iraq. And Kentucky was the place a lot of millionaires and billionaires would come for this race, for a 3-minute race, to spend a lot of money and do a lot of hush hush things in the tunnels. And we all of us that know, that lived in Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky, and are from Louisville, Kentucky, know it's a very deep, dark place. We know there's a lot of trafficking, human trafficking, child sex trafficking. We know it. It's not a big secret. We know that there was a lot of things that happened during slavery, during an underground, with the trafficking and things going on. We know that many of the entertainers in the entertainment industry, the singers, the rappers, funnel a lot of money in Louisville, Kentucky. They funnel a lot of money to the lawyers. They funnel a lot of money to the mainstream media. They funnel a lot of money into the drug scene, which is why one of the biggest drug operations in Louisville, Kentucky is named after a production industry of a major rapper. Like, we know this. We know that the police is in on it. The mayors are in on it. The Boule, the Black Secret Society, is in on it. That some of the lawyers, the mainstream reporters, we know this. The journalists, we know this. Those of us that's in the know. But President Trump actually spoke out on it a little bit in 2019 when maximum security actually won the race, and then the deep state rigged it and made the other guy win. So here we are in 2025, where they actually sent out a warning to President Trump saying, you need to make sure you don't get rid of any immigrants that we depend on. But President Trump did not attend the Derby, but he was rooting on the Derby. And he did make an announcement that all of this is happening as we enter the golden age. So it's so important to pay attention to his words, his statements, and the comms that are being dropped. Our sovereignty, it has now been restored. And this is what we've been talking about here for many years, that this time was coming, and here we are. So here, Trump's aides cheered on sovereignty. I'll show you that in 1 minute. 1 second. Here we go. Trump officials cheered on. Oh no, Trump's officials, they says cheered. Yeah, cheers journalism's defeat at the Kentucky Derby. This article says they missed a critical component, but they didn't. Supporters of President Trump on Saturday heralded a win by Racehorse Sovereignty, who defeated the horse journalism at this year's Kentucky Derby. In the Trump administration, Sovereignty will always win, Stephen Miller, a potential pick for Trump's new national security advisor, wrote. So you see national security again? You see the words they choose to use? National security was supposed to win in 2019, right before the 2020 elections, when Biden rigged the elections. Here they're talking about national security again. I'll read that again. In the Trump administration, sovereignty will always win. What is sovereignty? Not only the name of the horse, but sov means over. Reign means rule and control. You now have rule, reign, and control over your own life. And you can operate in the private section, which is why Trump is getting rid of the public section, the public sector in the government, because now you can operate in private. You can operate and work and circumvent around and work around the government, around the deep state, around nefarious powers, and have reign, rule, and control over your own life, because the republic, our lawful government, has now been restored. Sovereignty will always win. The people being in control will always win. The people are now back in control. Stephen Miller says sovereignty will always win in the Trump administration, and he is a potential pick for Trump's new national security. This is what he wrote on X. You see how they're dropping comms, family? You see how they're letting you know you're now in control of your life? This all ties in with the Supreme Court of the United States overturning the Chevron doctrine. The Chevron doctrine was a doctrine or a principle that expanded the powers of the government. They allow all these agencies to create themselves and say that they're part of the government, like the CIA, the FBI, the EPA. You got DMV, all of them. The Chevron doctrine said these entities could create themselves and then say their government, create statutes, codes, policies, and legalities, and force you to abide by them. And if you didn't, they would send their policy enforcers, known as police officers, after you, make you pay a fine, send you to court, and then the judge would just defer back to those faithful government agencies that have nothing to do with our republic. So the Chevron doctrine was not only the Chevron doctrine that expanded the powers of these 441 agencies that call themselves government agencies, but it empowered the judges to defer right back to those faithful agencies and say, yep, you got to do whatever they say. So the Chevron doctrine became known as the Chevron deference over a time period. However, last summer, the Supreme Court of the United States overturned the Chevron doctrine and said all of these government agencies have infringed upon our rights of life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. They have become treasonous and unconstitutional, and they must be dismantled. That is why President Trump tasked Elon Musk with the Department of Government Efficiency to downsize the government, because your republic has been restored and your sovereignty has been reenacted. This is why the deep state encourage people to protest, because they don't want people to know that your sovereignty has been restored, that the republic has been restored, that the Pope dying is significant because the head of the snake has been cut off, because King Charles, Prince Charles, whoever this snake lizard person is about to die as well, because even the British crown, all that is being dismantled, which is why Europe is having blackouts right now, because Europe controls nothing anymore. Because Europe, Britain, whatever you want to call it, those areas of the world that had not only colonized America, but those nations that had colonized Africa, they're now in the dark. That's why it's having power outages. This is all coded messaging for saying it's over for Europe. It's over for the European powers. It's over for that whole bloodline. It's over for that whole narrative that they control the world. We won. It's time to celebrate, family. April 2nd again was, what was it called? Liberation Day. because putting tariffs on those other nations was saying no longer can y'all control us. No longer can you tax us to death. Okay. No longer can you do whatever you want to do to make the people in America suffer. Our republic has been restored, our freedom and our prosperity will now be enacted. So Trump's aides cheered on sovereignty. And I'm sure you guys have seen the articles. I'll just show you one that says sovereignty won the race. And I'm just here to make the official announcement on the YouTube platform that the reason why he won is because our sovereignty has been restored. And these are comms being dropped, or quoted messages. So sovereignty was jockeyed by Junior Alvarado. This marks his first career win at the Kentucky Derby. 19 horses competed in the race. It tells you the name of them. The Kentucky Derby is only the first of the Triple Crown races. And it says, going into the race, horse Journalism was the favorite to win at a 7-2 odds via the Kentucky Derby, followed by Sandman. Interesting, because what is Project Sandman? Project Sandman is the agreement between 209 nations to drop the dollar when triggered, and to drop the dollar for trade and use their own currencies backed by gold. Project Sandman was a secret agreement between 209 nations to, when triggered, stop trading with the dollar and use their own currencies backed by gold, palladium, platinum, and other precious metals. And another part of Project Sandman, sand on the ground, the law of the land, common law, constitutional law. Okay. Another part of that was that all these 209 nations agreed secretly behind the scenes to world peace. So all these comms being dropped. They favored Journalism, followed by Sandman and Luxor Cafe. However, sovereignty won the game. I'll leave that in the description section for you. So President Trump and the white hats of the military, or you can call them the white knights of Nasara, they're now in control. They control mainstream media. They control the narrative. They're controlling now the comms, and they're saying that it's over for the deep state and the people now have the power. This is why the Supreme Court of the United States are overturning all type of things. They overturned Roe versus Wade, and they said that the federal government can no longer say whether or not you can have an abortion. It's not up to the federal government. Now they said it's in the hands of the state, because they're turning power back over to the people, which is the way it's supposed to be according to our republic anyway, because each state, according to our republic and the way it used to be before we were usurped by these bloodline families, is that each state is its own country. Each state has its own flag, its own symbol, its own lawmakers. Even and you could see that when I reported that 46 states repealed the state sales taxes from precious metals. How can you do that as a state? Because you have power. And the 10th Amendment for our Constitution, for our republic, states that local governments and local communities have more power than the federal government, and that the federal government only has the power that the people give it. Well, Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade. They overturned the Chevron doctrine, limiting the powers of the government and enforcing that now that the government has to be downsized and obliterated because it's not part of a republic. The Supreme Court of the United States also stated that state-sponsored banks can operate independently from the Federal Reserve central banking system. Okay. The Supreme Court of the United States is turning back the power over to the hands of the people. This is why President Trump is getting rid of funding the United States Department of Education. What he's doing is he's dismantling every single entity that calls itself part of the government, so that he can destroy it through executive orders and return everything back to the republic and back to the hands of the people. So instead of being mad at Trump, mad at the government for downsizing the government, mad at Elon Musk, now feel empowered that you can operate at the state level, that you can put people in power, that you can operate in now and make laws. You can force your lawmakers to make certain decisions. And if they don't, you sue them. And this is what 3 taxpayers in Kentucky did when Governor Andy Bashir continued to tax precious metals after the state of Kentucky removed state sales taxes from precious metals. They passed legislation to remove sales tax from precious metals. Kentucky became the 45th state to do that. New Jersey became the 46th state. There are only four more states now to repeal or remove sales tax from precious metals, thus acknowledging silver and gold as money. Only four more left. And the article put out by the Sound Money Defense League says that those four states would do so this year in 2025. So how can states do that if they didn't have power? And when the government thought he was better than the people, and he had a power that was better than the legislatures or more stronger than the legislature, and he kept the taxes on the precious metals, then 3 Kentucky taxpayers sued Governor Andy Bashir, and they actually formed a class action lawsuit with them. Not just the 3 of them, but they got together with a large major precious metals company. And that's what you can do when you have power, rather than running around screaming and hollering and having temper tantrums and singing Kumbaya. Because the lawful definition of a protest is a signed, notarized document that you sign stating your problem or your claim against an entity, and you send it through proper channels to rectify the situation. It is not singing Kumbaya. It is not rallying. Look up the word protest. Look it up in Black's Law Dictionary. We've been led astray. So this finally is what President Trump said about this Kentucky Derby. I hope you're following me, family. This is a great time to be alive. Listen to this. Thank you, Black Coral. The jockey that rode the horse's name was Zim. Oh my gosh. So for all of you that have the Zimbabwean Zim, that currency, and it's about to, revalue, the Zimbabwean's currency is about to revalue. In fact, they just reinstated the gold standard. They just reinstated their gold coins and re-announced their gold coins again. Zimbabwe did. But if you hold the Zimbabwe, on the top left-hand corner, it says, "This is a promise to pay the bearer upon demand." It is written on government bond paper. It is a government bond, and it is a promise to pay you upon demand. So what Black Coral wants us to know is that the jockey that rode the horse, his name was Zim. All these comms being dropped. Gemini says Trump needs to stick with politics and leave sports alone. Trump isn't never played a sport in his life, and it shows. Well, he told you that sports is political, and it is. Sports is political. Hello, Houston. Yes, sports, they're all actors. Grand afternoon to you too, Philip. It's good to see you. Philip is a new member of our channel. Okay, I'm just seeing what you guys are saying. Let's see what President Trump said about the race. So can you all see that they're dropping comms that now our sovereignty has been restored? If you put everything together with the Supreme Court overturning the Chevron doctrine, with Elon Musk downsizing the government, Trump putting tariffs on all these countries that have been doing business with us. And it's good that he did that, because what he said was, instead of taxing the people, we're going to tax these countries. We don't need to make money off the people. We're going to tax the countries, put tariffs on them if they import things, goods into our country. And we're going to create a sovereign wealth fund that's comprised of money from the tariffs, stocks, bonds, real estate, gold, other precious metals, rare earth minerals, and digital assets. That's what the sovereign wealth fund is comprised of. And the sovereign wealth fund is for humanitarian projects, investments, and development. So Trump is doing his thing. President Trump has made his decision on the Kentucky Derby extremely clear. The 151st running of the Kentucky Derby at Churchill Downs in Louisville, Kentucky took place on Saturday. Oh, so for those of you that said, for the person that said that President Trump has never been involved in in sports, one of my friends just sent me a text that said Trump owned a professional football team. So I think we probably need to check our facts. Okay. He owned a professional football team, darling. President Trump did not, thank you. President Trump did not attend the Kentucky Derby. He attended some major sporting events so far this year, though, including the Super Bowl in New Orleans and the Daytona 500 in Florida. However, the 47th president of the United States made his opinion on the Kentucky Derby extremely clear on Saturday afternoon. President Trump raved about the Kentucky Derby as he shared his best wishes to the competitors of the event that he says represent an iconic American institution. The president of the United States released a statement hours before the horses were off. And let me see. The Kentucky Derby is not only a stakes race, but also an iconic American institution, an elegant celebration of our culture, customs, and unwavering competitive spirit, the president's statement said. When the first Kentucky Derby commenced in the spring of 1875, 1 year before the 100th anniversary of American independence, our nation was in the midst of a grand transformation. Westward expansion was underway. Our industries were booming, and the promise of manifest destiny was beating in the hearts of 10,000 speculators that were gathered in hope for a united, prosperous, and triumphant American future. President Trump added that he believes the race serves as a reminder that we are in the early days of a new golden age. How long? I've been talking about the golden age since 2020, and I said that's what Corona was about, because Corona means crown, as in the crown chakra, as in gold, and that our crown chakras were being activated, that we were ascending in consciousness, and that we were moving to a gold standard. I said that in 2020. Remember that? President Trump said, this is a reminder that we've entered the golden age. Beautiful. Now, let me show you proof that I said that in 2020. I may not have the year on it, but let me go to my photos. If I can go to my cover. So I even created a statement about this, and somebody put it on a crown for me. She said, this is beautiful. I'm going to see if I can find that photo for you of the crown. Un momento, por favor. If I can find the crown, I'll show it to you. I don't see it yet, but I'll show it to you. I'll put it in the description section. Let me read this right quick. Somebody sent me a text. Oh, President Trump owned a professional football team, the New Jersey Generals, red jerseys. Okay. Thank you for that. So I don't know if you guys remember the crown that I had up. It was on my, anyway, let's go ahead and read the rest of this because I have somewhere to go. Where is love being Nubian? I don't know. Is somebody acting up in the comment section? Let me bring back what President Trump said. President Trump added that he believes this race serves as a reminder that we are in the early days of the golden age. Now, as our nation gathers for the same Derby 150 years later, and 1 year before we celebrate 250 years of independence, we recognize that we are in the early days of a new golden age. Before our very eyes, we are witnessing a resurgence of the American economy, a rebirth of American strength, and a restoration of the American dream. Today, as we enjoy the venerated springtime tradition of the Kentucky Derby, my administration pledges to continue the work of reforming our country, reharnessing our heritage, and reigniting all our greatness and glory. I send my best wishes for a safe and successful Kentucky Derby. May God bless you, and may He continue to bless the United States of America. May the best horse win. And the best horse did win. And so this is what my friend Taj sent me about the team that Trump owned. Is called the Generals. So those that say Trump need not to be involved in sports, I would say that he already is, and that sports, politics, everything goes hand in hand. It's just the reality in which we're living. Oh, people are acting up. So Pamela says, I'm sorry, Philip said, it's weird because I called the airport for IQD exchange rate and they told me it was $1,770 to one. Wow. But on the EX exchange, it says it's $1,309 to $1. So somebody's lying. Andrea said that Melania Trump wrote on X that something good is going to happen in June. Hey. Okay, Pamela White Eyes. Let me see if I can do that now. I think I have to go to YouTube and do that. So that's it, family. I just wanted to let you know that for you, though, for all of you that don't know, that Sovereignty won the horse race and that those were comms being dropped. That is a coded message saying that our sovereignty has been restored. Oh, you have a family in Louisville, Kentucky. That's awesome. And that's about it, family. I just wanted you to know that we're living in a very exciting time. You now have full reign, rule, and control over your life. The government that had been created, the fake government to rule over us, has been dismantled, and those remaining entities that are still, trying to hang on by a string will be completely cut off very, very soon. And as a matter of fact, our celebration for America's 250th year birthday or anniversary starts the end of May on Memorial Day. It will be a year-long celebration between the end of May on Memorial Day up through next year, the 4th of July. And that celebration will take place at the Iowa Fairgrounds. So it's supposed to be beautiful, amazing, and exciting. And President Trump has been talking about it now for some time. So that's about it, family. I am supposed to go somewhere. I'm supposed to be somewhere already. So I'm not going to hold you, but I will read some of your comments. Philip says, Brother Taj, the Moorish American brother, is cold-blooded and very powerful. I have to make Peace White-Eye a mod, and I'll do that on my YouTube channel. So, family, we've been on for almost an hour. Stay encouraged, stay positive, and know that you have rule, reign, and control over your life. More news will come out about more arrests. You already are hearing that judges are being arrested, pastors are being arrested, pastors are also being told to stand down. Who else is being arrested? More people behind the scenes have been arrested or forced to resign. You can look up resignation.info. I'll put that in here for you. And Mother Susan Price is one of the first people to bring this out about resignation.info. She will be on my podcast along with our great friend, Ron Anthony. Ron Anthony actually works in the Republic, our newly restored Republic in the state of Georgia. So they're going to be on a podcast Wednesday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time to encourage us and inspire us to stay focused. And they're going to bring intel and information about how we know that the Republic has been restored. So if you want to hear Gold Star Mother Susan Price, who is the mother of the Patriot community, then stay tuned for Wednesday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yes, Diddy's trial starts Tuesday. Thank you, Green Eye. She said that's going to be a distraction. Green Eyes also said Trump posted a picture of himself dressed as the Pope. Was he telling us he's in charge of the Vatican banks? Ooh, wee. Perhaps. Wow. And that's why, who's this? Code One Film. You need to come on the show because you drop a lot of information in the chats and in the comment sections of the video about the Republic being restored and the deep state being taken down. This is one of the Moorish brothers. He said the Vatican Bank has been emptied by the Trump alliance. If you want to look at any of these people that have been forced to resign as it relates to banking CEOs, presidents of countries, presidents of major corporations, people that were ahead of social media outlets and mainstream, worked in mainstream media, then go to resignation.info. Gratitude to you too. So that's it, family. I hope that we've said something that was encouraging, that especially when you think of our republic being restored and our sovereignty being restored, us now being able to operate in the private. Basically, the private sector is a group of individuals or a group of people. It's an individual or a group of people that operate outside of the government. So let me look and see if I can find it right quick. Let's see. We'll put this in the description section. And we'll end with this. You want to operate in private and out of the jurisdiction of the government. The government should not be telling you that when and who you can marry, should not be forcing you to have a marriage license, a driver's license, a license to conduct business, should not be telling you what to do with your womb. The government just should not have rule over your house. So this here is what Trump is doing, getting rid of the public sector, the government, and putting the business of your household, your wealth, your life in your hands, and which is the private sector. So public sector versus private sector is an article that I want you to read at your leisure. What's the difference? Basically, it tells you here about the public sector. The term public sector and private sectors are used to compare different types of organizations in the United States. Public sector organizations are entities that are owned, operated, and funded by the government, which is what I said, while private sector organizations are businesses and companies that are owned, operated, and funded by the private individuals, by you or by groups. Unlike the public sector organizations, which aims to provide services that serve the public interest, private sector organizations are typically driven by the goal of generating profit for their owners or shareholders. Why not be a private entity and create a business that would generate profit and wealth for your family, the family business, for your family and your community? So I'm not going to say much more about this, except for I think you should read this and look up the difference between the private sector and the public sector, because this is what mainstream media is talking about. And they're telling people to be upset with Trump because he's getting rid of the government. And they're saying that you should be upset because that will mean that government benefits will disappear, or entitlement benefits will disappear. But when you look at the statistics and other data comparing people and countries that depend on the government versus those that don't have government handouts, you'll see which countries, which people become more creative, more motivated. This, you can even relate this to what's going on in Iraq right now. Iraq was dependent upon Iran. And because the dinar was suffering. Go and watch my video on that in the members only section. And I'll tell you, now Iraq is free. And that dinar is about to explode because their sovereignty has been restored thanks to President Donald Trump and the Nasara white knights and the white hats in the military. So that's about it, family. I'm going to leave. I have an appointment for which I'm late. So my name is Dr. Kia Pruitt. I hope I've said something to raise your vibrations and inspire you to create the most amazing, magnificent life that you desire and deserve. May the force be with you. Good night. Bye-bye.